Hi, Latifa. Thank you for sending in these essays. Let's take a look at your first set here. Schools, whether or not they should be more entertaining or not. Let's see what you wrote. There are a variety of different perspectives on the question of whether or not recreational classes, including sports, arts, and drama, must be priorities, while others still hold to the conservative education system whose focus should be on education only. Okay, this sentence is okay. Obviously, we fixed this little grammatical snafu here with the that there. You need to combine these to make these whose. But honestly, I would have stopped the sentence right here because when you have whether or not, you're also already presenting the opposite perspective here. So this felt to me a little superfluous. What you could have said instead was whether recreational classes, etc., or if the education system should be the focus only, okay? Because this whether here kind of dictates what the rest of your sentence should look like, okay? I hope that makes sense. So let's take a look at the rest. In this essay, not the essay, it's not only one essay in the entire world, but it's this essay. So, in this essay, I intend to argue that extracurricular activities play a crucial role in the development, in the physical and mental growth of children. I will discuss both sides using statistics from the World Health Organization to demonstrate and support arguments. Okay, fine. Okay, to begin with, it is an undeniably obvious fact that the major purpose of school should be to educate people. Some grammatical problems here. Okay. Nevertheless, from my perspective, educational institutes should encourage extracurricular activities as they give, get rid of this A, an opportunity to students to progress in an area neglected by just, how about neglected by mere education? Get rid of the just, because mere is doing the same job here, so you don't need both of these words. It's superfluous. For instance, statistics have shown that students participating in sports competitions build skills such as teamwork and management. Furthermore, they could influence teens to turn their hobbies into career prospects. Therefore, in order to foster holistic growth of students, they have to arrange more entertaining activities. Okay, yeah, okay, I understand what you're saying here, but I want you really to focus on the task and what they've asked you here. You decided to talk about sports, you decided to talk about extracurricular activities, and you talked about skills that students can gain from things like sports. So let's look at the topic again. It says more entertaining. So you have to think about, what do we mean by entertaining? We mean amusing, we mean funny, we mean, kind of lighthearted fun. So you talk about extracurricular activities here, but you never really introduced this element of fun. You're talking about sports competition, then you're talking about teamwork and management, and then you're talking about hobbies. All of these things that you're talking about, yeah, they do exist in extracurricular activities, but never do you mention anything about fun. Okay? I know a lot of athletes who participate in their sport and they're passionate about it, but it's never fun. It's never entertaining. Okay? So you have to remember this part of the argument. And this is what your focus should be. Not on skills development without entertainment, not on holistic growth without entertainment, okay? But first you have to talk about entertainment. You have to talk about this element of fun, this element of amusement. That's what the essay has asked you about. If these things, fun, amusement, entertainment, lead to the other things you've talked about, then okay. But if you talk about those other things like holistic growth and teamwork and management without talking about this element of entertainment, then it comes off as an off-topic response, okay? So this is one of the first things that I want you to learn about writing for IELTS and how important it is to make sure that you've really grasped the topic, okay? So let's move on to your next paragraph. Further, and more importantly, adding a great deal of mental pressure on their minds might lead to stress, depression, disinterest in study, frustration, and physiological disorder. However, entertaining activities could develop more talents and student skills, contribute to comprehending, ing, the context that they studied. Therefore, schools ought to be more interesting, more entertaining, and should promote recreational classes, full stop. Now, here you have the right ideas, but you have not supported them anywhere. So what's missing for me entirely is support. So what you have is an unsupported paragraph with some good ideas, but it can't get above a 5 with this kind of development. So let's see, what could you have done here? You said what the problem is with this other sort of perspective. Okay, and then you said that could develop more talents and skills. Okay, like what? How? Okay, and then you say that it can contribute to comprehending context. Oh, really? How? Explain to me. Give me an example. And how should they promote recreational classes? What are some examples of recreational classes? So you've got the right ideas, but you really need to stretch these ideas out and draw them out so that you make a coherent, comprehensive paragraph. Okay? So, conclusion. By way of conclusion, I once again reaffirm that schools should be entertaining since a more holistic approach to educating provides better academic performance overall. All right, that's okay. I'm not a huge fan of paragraphs that just consist of one sentence, but what you wrote is fine. But as I said already, there's work that you need to do here. Here in terms of the relevance to the topic, and here in terms of just how much you actually developed it. Okay, so a couple of different problems here. The good news is that your grammar and your vocabulary, all those things are well controlled. You did a nice job with all those, so you're at a good point to begin with. But like I said, those other areas need to be worked on. So let's take a look at your second essay, see what you did there. Okay, so let's look at your second essay. The first thing I see here is that it's very, very short. Too short. Look, it's 186 words. So that's the first problem. Right away, you should know that an examiner would probably scan this and count the words. So it would definitely get points lowered just for this. So remember that your essays have to be 250 words minimum. Let's see what you actually did in terms of the development. So while some parents encourage their offspring to read, many promote them to get, wrong word here, promote. It should be encourage them. So many encourage them to get involved in activities to contribute to their social and cognitive skills. In this following essay, I intend to advocate get rid of both attitudes and advantages of no. Okay, the grammar here is wrong, and your decision to discuss both sides is wrong. Now, let me qualify that a little bit. This is a to what extent do you agree essay. So it's entirely possible to agree kind of half and half. But what I want you to do for the purposes of creating a properly developed essay is I want you to at least lean 51-49. Okay? You have to have at least some sort of leaning in some direction. So let's try your introduction again. While some parents encourage their offspring to read, many encourage them to get involved in activities to contribute to their social and cognitive skills. In this essay, I intend to discuss both attitudes. I intend to, not discuss, that's awkward, discuss both attitudes. I intend to analyze maybe both attitudes and argue why I am in favor of blah, blah, blah. Okay? So that's one way you could have done this. So let's move on. Get rid of this comma here after that. First of all, it is it is an indisputable fact that reading does help children in many ways. For instance, it aids their cognitive development, improves their language skills, and academic performance. Okay, you're giving me a list. Make sure your list creates a paragraph. So explain to me how, go into some detail, illustrate it with some examples, give me some statistics. Don't just give me a list, okay? Moreover, okay, you need a noun here. Reading. It strengthens the brain's connections by creating, or by, not building, by creating new ones. Okay, I guess you mean synapses in the brain and so forth. So go on into a little detail. What does that mean? Why do we want this to happen? Remember that we're talking about skills development. So what do I care about the brain's connections if it's not related to skills? So explain to me how these new connections in the brain translate into better skills, okay? Thus, it is vital to develop reading abilities as it is the significant component for education in the modern world. Okay, where have you talked to us about that, the significant component? Remember that this last sentence in your paragraph needs to relate back to the first sentence in your paragraph. You said that it helps children in many ways, okay? So how does this somehow connect to this significant component for education? Okay? If you're going to talk about education and how important reading is for education, then you need to develop it earlier on in your paragraph, okay? So there's a problem with some of the progression of your ideas, and this is going to be reflected in your coherence and cohesion score. So let's go to your next paragraph. Admittedly, being involved in activities contributes in growing self-confidence, enhancing motor skills, and more importantly, communication skills that are crucial at an early age, which cannot be achieved just by reading. An undertaken survey by a prestigious university in Azerbaijan published that 90% of youngsters who practice educational games are improving mentally more quickly than their peers. Okay, so what you have here is a paragraph which is really just 2 sentences, and that's not enough. So I want you to look at the template again and see how the template from the course recommends that you build your paragraphs. It just feels really underdeveloped. The other paragraph felt really underdeveloped too. But here it's an even bigger problem because it's very clear that your paragraph only has 2 sentences. Now, 2 sentences is not advisable for a paragraph. You need at least like 4 or 5 sentences to create a real paragraph, okay? So you have to work on this a lot more. You have to develop it a lot more. So let's look at your conclusion now. By way of conclusion, I would say that children's skills are shaped from various ways of education, either practicing in educational games or reading. Both are of major importance for holistic improvement of children. Okay, fine. Now, let's look at one of the other problems that this essay experienced. You decided to talk about reading here. I thought that was a great idea. A lot of people choose not to. Okay, but I really think that spending a paragraph discussing reading and how it helps with skills, I think that's a great thing to do. You did that, so good. But you didn't develop it enough. You need to go into more detail. Now, here you start talking about activities, but you didn't really, you talked to me about motor skills and communication skills, and that's fine. But there was a whole other area that you missed, and you missed this idea of creativity. And it's really important to talk about creativity. How do we know that? Because the people at IELTS actually separated it from the other skills. It said develop better skills and more creativity. So clearly they've separated this from their skills and want you to dedicate some time to this. So this is how you should have added to this paragraph here, okay? And how you should have developed it by talking about ways that activities can develop creativity. You could have also talked about how reading develops creativity here too. That would have been a good thing to include, okay? But you absolutely must have mentioned it here. So again, there's good grammar happening, there's good vocabulary happening, but we've got to work together on your coherence and cohesion as well as your task achievement. So what I want you to do now is I want you to correct these essays. I want you to apply the changes that I've suggested. Secondly, I want you to create an error correction list where you write down the mistakes that I pointed out. Next to each mistake, write what the corrected version would be. And then the third thing that you need to do is, of course, write us a new set of essays, utilizing all of the feedback and everything you've been learning on the course to create that new set. Okay, we'll be here. We'll be waiting to see what you write. So best of luck to you.